Hi everybody, I'm Glenn Lyons, presiding Bishop of Reach, South Africa. Today on our Reaching the Fields series, I want to introduce you to one of our pastors, pastor of St. Thomas, Heidelveld, and it's Alun Burt. Some of you may know him, but many of you don't. So welcome, Alun. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Glenn. It's really nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
We can tell from your accent that you're not from Cape Town. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where you're from?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in South London in the UK, and grew up there until I came here. I was born to parents who were truly Christians, and that was an incredible privilege. My parents met in All Souls Church during one of John Stott's sermons. He must have had a dull bit and our eyes met across the balcony. And that was that. So I was greatly privileged to be able to grow up as a child in evangelical Anglican churches. God eventually saved me late in my teenage years, and the truths I'd heard all my life kind of clicked into a place for me. Then I studied civil engineering at first in London, and then switched to Bible college after that, after serving in church and discovering that's what I really ought to be doing. 15 years ago, we moved to Cape Town, and it was here that I married Debbie, my wife, and now God's blessed us with 4 kids all the way from age 16 down to age 4. So we've got a lively household, particularly during lockdown.
Good.
Yeah.
So, from South London to South Africa, and some people may be surprised to hear that you're one of our pastors on the Cape Flats at St. Thomas Heidelveld. How did that happen? How did you end up there pastoring that church?
Being Christian is such an exciting adventure, isn't it? And you end up doing things you never dreamed about doing. So the path to St. Thomas was a real long one. I was at Bible college in the UK, initially thinking I was going to go to France to do mission work there. I mean, France is one of the great unreached countries of Europe, and it was just a few miles away from where I grew up, really. But no doors open there. And so in my last year at Bible college, I was invited to do a short-term mission trip to work with St. Stephen's Church, to work with U-Turn, which is that outreach to people living on the streets there. And I spent 5 weeks, and they asked me to stay, and that was enough guidance from the Lord for me. So a year later I came back, and at the same time Debbie was invited separately out to work for St. Stephen's and start Arise, which she did, and Arise was a partnership between St. Stephen's Church and St. Thomas's Church on the Cape Flats. So let me just fill you, anyone who's listening in on Arise. It's a ministry to families, to strengthen families, both strengthen existing families on the Cape Flats that are struggling, and also to put children in families who don't have families to look after them. So that's adoption and fostering and promoting that. And they both do that in Heidelveld, but they train and equip people to do that around the country. So that's why we kind of got this link to St. Thomas, and then Debbie and I married, and we want to be in the same church, obviously. So I came over to St. Thomas, and 11 years ago I came on staff at St. Thomas, and I came on as youth pastor then, and I worked under Christian Snell. Some of you guys will know him, he's from Mitchell's Plain, and learned so much from him. And then he moved on, and then Gary Bedison, who a lot of you will know, was the rector after that, and I learned a huge lot of new stuff from him. And then eventually Gary Bedison moved on, and the church council kind of looked around and they spotted me, and they said, okay, it's your turn, have a go. And so I'm just really thankful to the Lord for that, and we're just really thrilled to be at St. Thomas, that the Lord organised those things into that way. We wouldn't have planned it, but that's where it is. St. Thomas we love St. Thomas, great family, and we feel just very blessed to be able to use whatever time and energy and strength and the privileges that the Lord has given us to be able to work in such a context as Heidelveld. It's a real thrill, so we thank the Lord for it regularly.
It's great to hear you talking like this, Alan. A lot of people may look at, work on the Cape Flats and think it's daunting, and we love the fact that you think it's a great opportunity and a privilege to serve the work of the gospel. It's great to hear that. Tell us a little bit about ministry life in Heidelveld. You've been in the community, you're living there, you're entrenched in the community, you're part of the ministry and the life there. How have you found gospel ministry there? How has it been? What sort of exciting things have happened? What sort of challenges do you face?
To go back to the beginning, to understand a community like Heidelveld, you've got to understand that under apartheid, it was a coloured community. People were moved there, they were oppressed there, they were robbed, and the scars of what happened back then still run deep in the community, and sometimes those scars are less like scars and more like open festering wounds because the damage done back then just breeds ill today. And so the poor educational opportunities people had, along with the lack of access to resources, had led to extremely high unemployment now, poverty, all the crime and gang-related violence that goes on with that, huge numbers of broken families, and children particularly suffering because of that. That's kind of the social context of Heidelveld, and but the positive side is it's also created some really resilient families, really resilient and in places open and strong culture, and there's lots of good in Heidelveld as well. So often we hear the Cape Flats is this terrible place, but that hard time has led to great strengths as well in the culture. And of course that socio-economic setting gives great opportunities for the church just to reach out with the love of Jesus in various ways. And so Arise has been a great partner with St. Thomas in that. They can do specialist work that we can't do. They've got excellent Christian social workers, excellent Christian child and educational psychologists who are able to work with families who are just, they're going through the worst things that you read about in the newspaper, and Arise is there with Christian staff to give them guidance and help. And so it's wonderful that St. Thomas can partner. So the socio-economic context gives us those opportunities to show love to the community. So yeah, no, those are good things.
That is good, and it's great to see how St. Thomas's is working in such a way that the ministry tools are there to reach the community, the school, and Arise, and a gospel preaching church. And I suppose you really get to see again and again the power of the gospel, not just bringing reconciliation and restoration between us and God, but to each other, which is really only truly accomplished through the gospel. Not so. Just like all our communities, you've been affected by COVID. What's life under lockdown been like at St. Thomas's and in that community?
Well, a couple of tremendously encouraging things about lockdown, of course, was that the first one is that people were face to face with their own mortality, and so people who would never have considered Jesus started considering him, and by sending out, what's up Christianity Explored courses, God willing, we made contact with people who would never have walked through the doors of churches, yet had the chance to hear and consider the gospel during this time. So that was encouraging. Another great encouragement was the partnership with some other churches here in Cape Town. I started getting emails from churches in Cape Town, some of which are existing partners, some of which had very little to do with us, and saying, what do you guys need? Or just saying, we've deposited this amount of money into your bank account, please feed your people with it. And just incredible. I didn't ask for a cent at that time. And churches just provided, just way beyond what we could have asked or imagined. And the long and short of it is that we've been able to feed families at St. Thomas. No one's had to go to bed without having a plate of food that night because they've lost their job or illness or anything like that, because of the generosity and partnership of churches around. And that isn't just a blip, during coronavirus, actually. It's worth saying, a church like St. Thomas in a poor area, we rely on outside partners to pay ministry staff to just run normally. You know, people at St. Thomas are generous, but we don't have enough to pay staff, and so we've got a network of supporters both here in South Africa, partner churches. The denomination gives some, so that we can pay a children's pastor, we can pay an apprentice. We've got a network of supporting churches in the UK through the Crosslinks Mission Agency, which Debbie and I are connected to, who support so that this ministry can go on in Heidelveld.
It's a wonderful sign of the kingdom-mindedness of God's people around the world, and we're very grateful for those kind of partners, such as yours in Heidelveld. Alun, it's been great chatting to you and great sharing what's going on, and thanks for taking time to come and share a little bit with us. I hope those of you watching this will pray. Add Alun, Debbie, and the work in St. Thomas's to your prayers. It's excellent to see just what God is doing in the midst of great challenges and obstacles. The gospel is making breakthroughs, and we thank God for that. We thank God for you, brother, and may the Lord continue to grow your work there.
Thank you very much, Glenn, for taking time for us. God bless.